Hi there, Coach Joe here again with another Q&A show with my guest Graham Roberts, performance coach at Team Brighthammer. We've got part two now where we're going to sort of go on from some of the things that we spoke about in the last show, anxiety, performance, all of that kind of stuff. But first, just like the last show, I'm going to give Graham a minute to explain a little bit about the article he just released as a guest post on the brighthammerfit.com website, which is all about... Well, I'll let you explain.
Yeah, cool.
Going in 3, 2, 1.
Cool. So it was a blog around the myth of I can't and what you can do about it. And in short, basically, we've all probably had that moment where we say, oh, I can't do this, in some way or another. It doesn't necessarily use the words I can't. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it uses things like, oh, I'm not going to do that now. Oh, I'll just take it easy there. All those things like that. Now, psychologically, that can be one way of your brain protecting itself. Mm-hmm. So it's trying to protect itself from the stress you're trying to go through. Yeah. So what this blog talks about is what's going on in the brain, because there's two parts in one brain, believe it or not, bit you know about, bit you don't know about. And what you can do with the bit you know about, you can actually control that to actually help convince the bit that you don't know about and to actually approach that slightly differently. So it's a really interesting blog. It's been some great feedback from the guys. And the thing I would say from there is, instead of saying I can't, work out what you can do. So.
Nice, with seconds to spare. Cool. Good work, Graham. I really enjoyed that post actually, and it got quite a few hits. So if you haven't seen it before, I'm going to drop a note in the description so you can go and check it out. It's really interesting.
Along with all your great posts as well.
Oh, they're okay. I mean, you know, if you have time. But yeah, definitely Graham's one. Okay, so we're going to go straight in and sort of tie in from our last show with another question about sort of race-related anxiety. Basically, and just flesh it out a bit. We touched on it before, but now I want to go a little bit more in depth because Graham's got a great tip that can help you with overcoming it. So, negative thought patterns in a race, resulting from things not going to plan or failing obstacles you would normally complete with ease. How can you train yourself to think more positively in this situation? Graham.
Cool. So the first thing with there is, you know, we talked about in the last post about planning and executing, and it's the same thing when you come up to the obstacle. Mm-hmm. So what I like to work with people is to establish this window of about 50 yards, 50 metres, depending on which country you're in, to 10 yards or metres after the obstacle. That is the window of focus for that obstacle in particular. Mm-hmm. So in the run up to that, you're thinking, right, what's the challenge ahead? What's the conditions like around me? What have I got to factor in? So, for example, Spartan Race in Peterborough, there was a river just before the monkey bars. Right. Put your hand in the river, wet hands on the monkey bars. So when you're running up to that, when you're going through the river, you know, stick your hands up to the sky, do the YMCA or whatever you want on the way through. Yeah. But just you're trying to help prepare yourself for that slightly more difficult obstacle that's there. So look at all the conditions beforehand. Then it also mentally you've got to commit. So then when you stand at the bottom, I always say to people, right, 3 deep breaths. Yeah. Stand there and go, right, in these 3 deep breaths, I am literally going to say, right, I am getting up that. Yeah. This is how I'm going to do it, and I ain't going to fail. Yeah. Think about things like that, and then just go and execute on that plan. Mm-hmm. So if it's a rope climb, right, focus on the technique, bang, 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 up to the top, down, carry on. Yeah. 10 metres after that obstacle, that's where I would say, consider the rest of that obstacle. Did it work or did it not? Right. If it worked, what went well? If it didn't work, what are you going to do different next time? Mm-hmm. After that 10 metres has passed, forget it. Yeah. Focus on the next thing ahead. You've got the next obstacle in front of you, which in an OCR is always a run. Yes. And if you're thinking about what you've not achieved in that last component, then you're not going to be focusing on the run and losing time on that because you're going to be running at 80%, not 85%. So I would say set up this window, 50 before, 10 after. That's the obstacle and the period you should be focusing on it. And if it's an obstacle that you complete with ease before and you fail it, there's 2 things that could go wrong. There's an environmental condition that you've not been able to tackle. Mm-hmm. So if there's snow, for example, and you've never trained monkey bars in snow, you're like, oh, how do I deal with this? Yeah. You know, that could be something that's out of your control, but it could also be something that's in your control. Yes. So if it could be that you sat there and gone, well, I've completed this before, I can do this with ease. Mm-hmm. Probably the wrong thought. That's going to lead to failure more often than not because you've got complacent. Yeah. So you need to try and kick that out of the head and say, right, what am I going to do? Concentrate on your inputs. And the input is, right, I've got to execute it like this. Go and execute on that plan.
There you go. I think it's something that that sort of ties in everything Graham just said. It's quite interesting there. It's about being present and not looking too far in the future, because like the weight of your expectations of what's going to happen across the timeline can sort of bear down on you, cause you to fall and cause you to fail. Which is why it's always better to tackle things in little bite-sized chunks. Okay, be prepared as a whole before you go into it. But when it's game time, when you're going in and you're running your race, that's when you've got to break it down into, it's just to the next obstacle, it's just the next run, this and that. Okay, and it's the same with anything. I mean, say if you were doing a course, like say you're doing a personal training course and you've got to learn anatomy and physiology, you've got to learn nutrition, you've got to learn programming, you've got to learn sort of looking after clients and their needs and sensitive client needs, and then data protection, all of this other stuff. As a whole, it looks almost too big to handle, which is why it's always broken up into pieces. Okay, that's how your attitude to your race as you come up to it. It's got to be like that, and I think that will help you deal with situations with, say, there is an obstacle that you're not overly confident on, that you're dreading a little bit. Putting off thinking about that until the time when you need to, i.e. when it's right in front of you, is really going to be beneficial to you. So just concentrate on what's in front of your face, and that's either going to be the obstacle there or the run to the next one. Okay, so
yeah, and it's interesting because in the next one we're going to talk a little bit about how you chunk stuff down as well.
Exactly.
Seamless.
So, but you're looking forward to that. You're going to have to wait though. So I've been Joe. That's great.
I've been Graham.
Speak to you soon.